Hey guys, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.
And welcome to the final week of our month of online dating content.
You know what this means, right?
It means season 7 starts next week.
Next week. Oh my gosh.
Right.
It also means we're at the beach right now.
I started to say, when this gets released, we will be on the beach, tan, caffeinated, resting. Oh my gosh, y'all. I literally cannot wait. Y'all know that me, Bethany, Lindsay, and Lauren took this trip last year.
Yes.
And we have rebooked it again. It is the week before Labor Day, but it is after a really crazy work time for Bethany and Lindsay. Lauren she's coming off of a camp from work. And then I'm coming out of my brother's wedding and a crazy week or month of work. So we are all going to be exhausted.
I'm exhausted now, just a month out.
Thinking about it.
I don't remember the last time I looked this forward to a vacation.
Me
and
neither.
honestly, I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to do absolutely nothing.
No. Y'all, our goal is literally not to leave the resort the whole week.
I was just telling Kristen, I was like, I feel like we're all going to be so burnt out and exhausted by the time we get there. We're going to sleep, and then we're all going to sit on the beach separately with our headphones in and not talk to anyone. And be like, okay, packed. No one get kidnapped because we don't want to have to get up, and we're just going to sit here.
What's great is that we're all 4 technically introverted.
Yes.
So we can all sit there, not talk to anybody. No one's going to get their feelings hurt. No one's going to get upset. Everybody's going to have their own audiobooks, their own actual books, their own music, and just... I'm going to get me a virgin strawberry daiquiri in the afternoon, and I'm going to get a Diet Coke at night and a coffee in the morning. It's going to be we're just on that rotation.
Yeah, I was going to say just rotate.
The whole time.
Yeah, it's not a swim up bar. It's a walk up bar.
Yeah.
At the resort by the pool though. Yeah, they're virgin strawberry daiquiris.
Oh my gosh. They're life changing.
They were like next level good. So yeah, I'm ready for that.
Yep, it's gonna be great. But y'all didn't get on here to listen to us talking about our beach trip. So sorry. We're just a little excited.
Thank you for indulging us.
Yes. So today, as we wrap up our online dating month of content, we are going to be sharing with you some things we have learned from
the men in our lives.
Yes.
I don't know. This is what came to mind.
Some guys we know that we talk to about online dating.
That makes us sound way less cool.
Yeah. Well, the men in our lives sounds a little bit more suggestive. So.
It's more interesting.
It's true. So y'all know we like to get a guy's opinion on here. And instead of getting them to come on and talk, because that would have been a little chaotic to get a bunch of them on here at once, we just kind of talked to them separately, gathered their wisdom and compiled it into a list of what they had in common so that we can share with y'all what it's like to date with online dating as a guy, because as y'all know, we only really know what it's like on our side of things.
From the girl's
perspective. We only see what guys are posting, what guys are saying, how guys are communicating. We don't see how other girls are going about this other than just our friends. And so...
Yeah, I've joked for a while with, actually, it was more than joking. We weren't totally just joking about, with our friend Krista about, like, okay, we need to set up a profile on one of these sites as a guy, just so we can see what girls are putting out there and know, like, what is it like? Because it's totally unknown.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, we would never talk to anyone. We're not going to, like... catfish anyone, obviously, but I just want to see
what the competition is.
Let's be real. But then also, like, okay, well, everyone has this on their profile, so don't put that. Like, how to just kind of gauge what's interesting, what's not, and all that. But then we were like, oh my word, let's just talk to guys instead. That's much easier.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what we did.
It's very true. So we're gonna go through this list of points we have. This is not going to, be a 2-hour long episode, but it's just going to, famous last word.
I know.
It's going to just be some things that the guys we talked to, that they all said. So we think those are the things worth mentioning, because we didn't tell the other ones what the other ones said, if that made sense. Like, we're not sharing answers across parties or whatever. So hopefully this will give y'all some tips, some things to be mindful of when you are engaging in online dating, how you're communicating with people, what you're posting, what you're using in your profile, all that jazz. So, first thing, we talked about, because remember, this is a Christian dating podcast. The guys said that if they're going to be interested in a girl, she's got to mention her faith somehow. And that doesn't just mean putting the little "I'm a Christian" tag on your profile. It's saying something about your faith. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to give your testimony, whatever. But they're looking through your profile, whether it's your, app prompts or whether it's on a site. Because we did talk to guys who were on both.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just one or the other. They want to see that you have mentioned your faith in some capacity, because that's showing that it's important to you enough to verbalize it, not just pick an option. Yeah, check a box.
Yep.
Exactly. So, and I think that's something I look for in a guy. And so it would make sense that he's looking for the same thing. And I mean, especially I think on a swiping app, you've got 3 prompts. That's literally 3 things you get to write about yourself. If your faith's not important to you, of course you're not going to really include it. But if it is, why wouldn't you include it in one of those 3 things?
Yeah, if it's more important to you that I know you like tacos than it is that you go to church on Sundays, I mean, I want to know that you like tacos. Let's not be dumb here, but we got to keep things in the right order.
Yeah. Well, and I think something to note too, one of the guys specifically said on Hinge, the typical Sunday prompt, he's like, if you don't mention that you go to church, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not either, from the flip side.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, I'm looking for the fact that you're going to church, you're talking about church, you're talking about your faith, you're talking about something related to your walk with the Lord. Yes. So,
well, and I sometimes gauge it by, and I think guys probably will be the same way. And if his profile, if everything is pretty brief, succinct, there's not a ton of words, so to speak, but he mentions, I go to church, I read my Bible, that's pretty basic. But if he says those things and it's commensurate with the rest of his profile, it is in step with the words and the amount of words he used for the rest of his profile, I'm good with that. If he has a really long, verbose profile and he says, oh, I go to church, or my faith is important, I'm going, okay, but you could write 3 paragraphs about
how much you love the Red Sox.
Exactly. So it tells me, okay, this is where this really probably ranks. And so I might be less likely to reach out to that guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to put it. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
If you want somebody who prioritizes their faith, you've got to show him that you prioritize yours.
Absolutely.
Next, let's talk about pictures, because
our favorite topic.
Yeah, for real.
I stress about this more than anything else.
I do too, because I think guys look at pictures more critically than girls do. I think girls look at pictures and oh, he's probably cuter in person.
Yep.
Guys are like, if she doesn't look like this, I ain't interested in real life. Or if she does look like this, I'm not interested.
Well, and I will say, I think in talking with the guys, I do think we stress about it more than it's important to them what you look like, and I'm not gonna act like it's not, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we're too critical of little things about ourselves, or we worry about they're gonna notice tiny little things, when in reality the things they talked about is they want to see you smiling. Yeah. That was the one big thing that was said multiple times.
I was are you happy ever?
Yeah.
Was what he's if you're not smiling, he's girls want to post all these serious,
model poses.
He's I want to see you smile.
Yeah.
And I was oh, that's really cute.
I know.
But that would never have crossed my mind of being important to a guy.
Well, and I will say from my side, we've joked before, and I've talked to other people about make sure your pictures match your profile. For instance, if you've got these super serious pictures and that's all you have, but your profile is saying, oh, I'm super chill, love to laugh, have a good time with my friends and hang out, whatever, it's
something's not adding up.
Sure. Yeah. I've seen guys' profiles where I'm you're practically scowling in every single picture, even when there's other people around. Do you enjoy life?
Yeah.
That should match, your profile.
I shouldn't be able to Photoshop your head and put it on a mugshot and it look accurate.
Seriously. That is a really good way of putting that.
I should be able, you should look happy.
Yeah.
And so should we.
Online dating is fun. You should be loving this.
Yeah.
said like 2 people ever.
Sort of say, not me. But yeah, so just smile in your pictures. Yes. Another thing I thought was really interesting is they talked about like they don't want to see a bunch of pictures that are super revealing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of like bikini pictures, which you would think would be, well, it's who you're looking for.
Yes.
But I found that very admirable about the guys we talked to, is that was something that was a red flag to them, is because what did somebody tell me? Like, don't advertise it if it's not for sale. Like,
yes.
So
good point.
If, that's what you're advertising.
Absolutely.
You got to think through that.
But they both said on both sides, app and website, that they do still want a full body picture.
Yes. Which I think
it's fine.
We have talked about that for years on here. Like, how important is it? It's not just because I feel like that's the equivalent with guys as it is to girls seeing pictures of a guy and he's always wearing a hat.
I don't want to get hat fished.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So if a guy's always wearing a hat, I'm assuming he has no hair.
Yep.
Okay.
Which some of us are more okay with than others.
Yes.
I like
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I want to know. I want to get the full picture.
Yeah.
Same with guys.
Or if you're always smiling with your mouth closed. I'm like, do you have teeth?
Are you missing one? Is one of them gold? I don't know.
So many options.
So many possibilities. But then same with guys. If all your pictures are from the shoulders up.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be wondering, what are you trying to hide? What do they not know about you? Like...
Well, and here's one thing I will say that I have had to learn personally, and I'm still learning because I'm not perfect at this, but we talk about how confidence is so attractive on both sides. If you are hiding the way you look,
even if it's just because you don't like it.
Yeah, you're in a way kind of communicating some insecurity to the point, and a guy may find, like, I'm sure there are guys who find you attractive. Like,
absolutely.
So it's not going to be like, oh, if I post this full body, no one's ever going to like me. No, there will be guys who find you attractive, but you've got to communicate that you have some level of like confidence and contentment in what you look like. I'm not saying you've got to be perfectly I don't know a single woman that's completely content with the way she looks. No. Okay. That's all something we need to work through. But even though I have some insecurities, I mean, I can tell you right now, I wish my thighs were, a little more small, toned, whatever. My stomach was flatter. There's a little part of like under my chin that I want gone.
My arms are a little too flabby for my own liking.
So I can sit there and tell you all the things I wish I would change or I could change about myself. But I also know that like a guy's probably like, wow, I wish her thighs had like 2 inches less of a circumference. And then I would think no, he's not saying that. So as much as you want to pick yourself apart, like, show him who you are. Because guess what? If you do go out with him, he's going to see it eventually.
It's just like we talk about with guys and their height.
Yes.
She's going to figure out how tall you are eventually.
Yeah, so if you lie about it,
it's not... Use current pictures.
Yes, don't use pictures from 15 years ago.
Yeah, you would have been 12.
Yeah. 13. Thank you.
Now you want to claim to be
older.
Now
I want to claim to be older, I know.
Anyway,
but yeah, so keep that in mind.
So the next... Talking about pictures, they were talking about who's in your pictures. They did say you need to have at least one picture completely by yourself. I will take that a step further and say if you've only got one picture that is you completely by yourself, it has to be your front picture. Don't ever put a picture as your main picture on the front of your profile with someone else in it. Even if it needs to be a selfie totally by yourself. And I will say this about the not only selfies thing. They were talking about, that's annoying or whatever. Like, what was it? Do you have friends and like all that? What was it they said?
It was like, if all your pictures are selfies, they're wondering if you have friends and if you just put this together at like 2:00 in the morning.
Okay, that's it. So I get that. But then I will also say we're on a dating app, which means you don't have someone to take pictures of you all the time. That's why they're selfies.
Fair point. Very fair point.
If I had someone to take pictures of me,
I wouldn't need to be on here. That's a great point.
Anyway. But then another thing, and I want to talk about this because it goes both ways. Don't have pictures with other guys in them.
Okay, this was literally like, I didn't even think twice about this, but one of the guys literally said, he's like, I don't want to see pictures with a bunch of guys. He's like, because the last thing a guy wants to do is date a girl with a bunch of guy friends.
Yeah. So even if they're your brother, whatever, like, you can even think, oh, I'm going to put it in the caption. And I get that, but
some people don't
then you
read
have
the
to
caption.
read the caption. And
yeah.
I don't half the time. But yes, but it's the same way. If I'm on a guy's profile and I'm swiping through pictures, you know, just flipping through all his pictures, and it's him and like several girls in several of them, even if it's just like, oh, we're out at a party and whatever, I'm like, that's what you pick to put on here? And
not interested. No.
And I mean, so yeah, same thing if, you're talking to someone and he always talks about his friends. It's like, oh, she this and she that. I'm really quickly going to be like, well, maybe not. Like, it's just not, I don't know. I don't prefer that.
No,
for sure.
I don't either. I don't either. You want somebody who has more friends of the same sex than they do the opposite sex.
Absolutely.
It's concerning if they don't.
Yes.
For me personally.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. But yeah, so those are the picture tips. Not a lot of revealing, not a lot of super serious. Make sure you're smiling. At least a full body picture. At least one of you by yourself, and no guys in the picture. So I feel like that's pretty reasonable.
I think so.
So things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I will say nothing that any of them said was something where I was like, oh.
No,
like,
not
that's
shocking.
A bit much.
Yeah,
no,
or
not
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Or unreasonable, I guess would be a better word.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to messages. What guys think of how we message them.
Okay.
As girls. What do we get? What do we hear?
The first thing, and honestly, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed in you women. Not you specifically that I'm talking to, but in general. Because one of the first things they said was, send me a message that's more than just one word, more than just hey, or hey, what's up, or how are you? Like, as much as every woman I've ever talked to who is so just outraged that guys have the nerve to just send them one word messages, to find out that you're doing the same thing is a little disappointing. I gotta be honest.
It's true. I was shocked that was the one thing that surprised me.
It did surprise me.
I was like, wait, really? I mean, we say like 4 times the amount of words in a day that y'all do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey. I'm like, say something.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got like the only reason I might be okay with you just saying like, hey, how are you? Is if you message a guy on like Bumble and all he has on his profile are pictures.
Yeah.
Then if you're just really wanting to talk to him that bad and you don't really have a whole lot to grab onto.
Yeah.
Okay. But other than that, there should be something that you can ask about, comment on, something.
And one thing I would say, guys and girls, a slight variation on that one question can make a big difference, I think. So instead of saying, hey, how are you? Because what do you say? Hey, how are you? What do you say?
Good. How are you? Even if I've had the worst day ever, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And that's all you're ever going to say. But if you say, hey, how's your week been? How's your week going? It gives you more to talk about because it's like, oh, there's more to cover in a week than how are you right at this exact moment, right?
Yes.
There's more to cover. It's like, oh, work's been busy, but I went to a movie last night with my friends. Awesome.
Cool.
What did you go see?
Yeah.
And there's
There's your opener.
That one little bit of difference in that. It's the same question, more or less. But just wording it that little bit differently, I found is much more effective.
Oh, I like that idea a lot. That's such a good point. And, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself. We'll get to that in a second. The other thing that we were told is to give a guy time to respond.
Yes.
Now, here's my girl brain.
Yep.
So
I have one too, so go ahead.
Okay. Most of us here do. The thing about this is I do get that if you message a guy, if he doesn't respond within an hour and you get mad, okay, well, he may not have seen it. He may, especially if it's during the day, he may be working. Or even if it's at night, you don't know what he does for a living. Like he could be working, he could be with family, he could be napping. I don't know. I'm just making up crap. Okay. But
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable for you to be patient in a response.
Yes.
My caveat to this, or my question to this would be, if it were me, I message a guy, he reads it, because you know a lot of these have read receipts.
Right.
or he's been online since I messaged him and he hasn't responded and it's been a few hours, I'm assuming he's not interested.
Yes. If he has read it but not viewed my profile, I give it time.
Okay. Now that makes sense. Yes.
If he has read it, immediately goes and views my profile and says nothing,
yes,
I immediately assume he's not interested.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying, I can back that up a little because I've been doing this for a while.
You said while normally.
Oh, yay.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
There was no extra.
A while.
Oh, man. And we're back.
No.
Anyways,
I've been doing
continue.
this for a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, which I probably should quit saying about myself. That doesn't sound good.
No, it's good. It's fine.
I've dated people from it, so
yes,
it works.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
You have had plenty of relationships that have come from your online dating
other
experience.
Topic. But anyway, there has never, and I can say never, been someone who read a message I sent, viewed my profile, and then from that, it may have taken 2 days for them to get online, read it, and view it. But from the point that they did, if it takes more than, I will say from whatever point it is in the day till the end of the workday, if it takes longer than that for them to reply, they either never have or it never goes anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, give the guy some time. But if you asked a simple question, I don't think you have to give it forever.
Yes, I agree.
If you ask a deeper question right off the bat, more power to you if you do, that's going to require some thought and actual response, then yeah, you need to give him more time. But I mean, yeah, don't close it out after 10 or 15 minutes after he's viewed it. But if it's been the better part of a day since he read a message and viewed your profile, I think it's fine to close it out.
Yes.
But yes, that's what I said. Give it some time. So we're telling you, and I mean, some of those things even we're like, that doesn't totally make sense, or what about this or what about that? It doesn't really matter what we think to an extent, you know?
Well, and I think it depends, as much as we talk to these guys, it's a few guys. It's not the gamut. We didn't get the whole picture. So it may be where some guys are going to take longer to respond, whereas other guys are super quick, and get to it faster. So it could depend on the guy too, but don't count somebody out right away.
Yes.
Just because you expect them to immediately get a notification. Because I know a lot of people turn their notifications off on these things.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't have them on.
Yeah.
If I want to know what's going on. Well, but I'm like that across the board with apps. I don't have any notifications on. If I want to know what's going on with a certain app, Facebook, Instagram, none of them are on.
You open it.
I will go to that app and open it to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
So just... yeah, don't assume he's sitting by his phone waiting for you to message him.
Yes.
As romantic as that would be.
Okay, so let's move on to the last couple of points here. And these are more, we asked the guys questions about these specific things because we hear it from a lot of we just had questions from a girl's perspective about how guys view things. So this was not stuff that they volunteered, but these were answers to our questions. So we've heard from a lot of you guys that you're online, but you struggle with this tension of pursuing versus being pursued. And should you reach out first? Should you wait for him to reach out first? And all of that. And so I have from my perspective as a girl, if a guy looks at my profile and does not reach out, most of the time I will assume he is not interested. He viewed my profile. He didn't see anything that was worth reaching out about, and so he didn't. Now, sometimes I'm like, wow. Sometimes there's things where I read it, I know myself, and maybe there's not anything in my profile about a certain interest or something that I like, but I read his profile and I'm like, oh, wow, we could really be, compatible in some things that he wouldn't have a reason to know. I go ahead and reach out anyway.
Yeah.
Even if he's viewed my profile. But that is not the norm.
Yes.
So our question to them was, if a girl looks at your profile and does not reach out at all, do you assume she's not interested, or would you still reach out to her? Because as girls, if you're online, but you're not wanting to have to initiate anything, if you're viewing lots of profiles and not reaching out, and they're assuming you're not interested, you may be missing out on some interactions because they think you're not interested, when in reality, you're just waiting for them to message you first. So we asked, and they did confirm that when a girl views your profile and does not say anything, they assume you're not interested, and more than likely they're not going to reach out because of that, not because they wouldn't have reached out otherwise.
Yes.
So let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
From the girl's perspective now, what do you do? Like,
I mean, I think, because I am very much in the camp of, y'all know I don't like initiating electronic conversation. Because I just don't think I'm that funny or interesting right off the bat on texting. So, or messaging or whatever you want to call it. So, if you want to, a lot of these, well, really every app or site that we've talked about has a way for you to reach out to somebody without you having to type a thing. So
yes.
Smile at them,
Yes.
like a picture, like a prompt, something, however you know,
yeah,
send,
smile, wink,
yeah,
heart, whatever
it's called. Do that if you don't want to be the one that says something first.
Yes. Well, and, sorry, were you going to keep
Well,
going?
the one thing I will
sorry.
say is I would prefer that, because whenever like on Hinge, when a guy will be like, so-and-so has invited you to start the conversation.
Yeah.
That bugs the crap out of me.
No.
Because then I don't even like, what did you like about me? Or are you just like lazy and you don't want to talk, like you don't want to come up with a thing? So at least show some sort of that interest in something. If you can do it in a specific way, do it. But do something.
Yeah.
And like when, before we got on to record, Bethany and I were kind of like hashing through this, and she said, she was like, if you were at a party and you saw a cute guy, you're not going to avoid him. You're not going to like totally like, I'm not looking at you, I'm not talking to you, but I'm expecting you to figure out that I am interested.
Right.
Like, you'd at least smile at him across the room if you got eye contact with him.
Or like if your friend was talking to him,
Yep.
you would buddy up to her real quick.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, yeah, hey, so who are you?
Right.
You know, or you need to introduce me or something. And it's just a different avenue for the same thing.
Exactly.
So just, there are ways to do it if you aren't the one that wants to be the first to message. But if you view a profile and he can see that you viewed it and you're interested, you've got to do something to show that, like, hey, I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
Yep.
And if you want to talk to me, here's your in.
Yeah. Well, and even if you want to send that first message, I think it's so ingrained, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because I think it's right. It's biblical. It's so ingrained that the men should lead, and they should. That's what I'm saying. It is right. They should. Mm-hmm. But even if you wanted to send a message, I don't think that is you taking the lead.
No, because how many times have we talked about on here that you are not pursuing by letting a guy know you're interested?
Exactly.
This is a different way for you to do that.
Right.
But it's the same thing.
Yes.
You can let a guy know you're interested and you're not leading the relationship.
Well,
and it's not a relationship.
That's
You're just
exactly
talking
what I was
to
about
him.
to say. You just said, I've been sitting here thinking, like, yeah, we talk about a guy should lead a relationship. You're not in one.
Nope.
He doesn't know you exist.
Nope.
So, yeah, he should lead the relationship. You can lead an initial conversation. Mm-hmm. They're very different things. But I think it's because, like, in that, like we're talking about that party example, you would go talk to the guy. It's fine. Because there is no immediate expectation of dating. And I think that's where we kind of get a little off, is that you're on an online dating site. So everyone knows you are reaching out in an I'm interested in possibly dating you context, not just a friendly context. Yeah. And so it shifts in our brain to, oh, I don't want to lead. I don't want to take too much. And I'm not downplaying that. I think that is a great thing for us to be mindful of. And we should. But we got to make sure we're comparing apples to apples, I think.
Yes, I would 100% agree.
So take that, do with it what you will. But know that if you're on an online dating site and you are looking at guys' profiles and not saying anything, it is portraying that you are not interested. Whether you actually are or not, that is the impression they get from it.
Yeah. So let's talk about, kind of in that same vein, but this is the last thing we'll touch on.
Okay.
When it comes to talking to a guy on a site, on an app, there's this, you know, stigma is not the right word, but like, it's all about asking questions is what you talk to girls.
Yes.
Girls want guys to ask them questions.
Or they stop talking to someone because he just quit asking
questions.
And we say girls do this. I've done it.
Oh, totally.
I'm not saying
100%.
I'm not saying you shouldn't. We're just gonna take a spin.
I think we should clarify what this looks like.
Yeah.
Because, well, I'm not going to steal your thunder.
You
tell
fine.
them what we talked about as far as like talking to someone and talking with
yes.
someone. Like, make this distinction.
Yes.
This was so good, y'all.
So I have kind of realized this recently with several interactions I've had on both sides of this. So I have realized, especially in this online dating context, there is a difference in talking to someone and talking with someone. When you're just talking to someone, you are telling them things about yourself. You are telling them things that you like to do. You are telling them what your life looks like. And then in turn, they are returning the favor and doing the same thing. And you probably ask, oh, what about you? Tell me this, tell me that. What do you like to do for fun? You're talking to each other. When you're talking with someone, it's when you answer those questions of what do you like to do for fun, and you say, oh my word, me too. Let me tell you the story about this thing that I did one time with my friends. And then that leads to them telling you something that they did with their friends. And you're talking with them. You're having a conversation. You're not talking at the other person. You're not just imparting knowledge and words. You're having a conversation and you're building something around that. There's a big difference there. And you get stuck in this ask question, answer, back and forth when you're not really having a conversation, I think. So I would almost say if you're having a conversation with someone, you're going back and forth and you're not having to ask questions, I would take that any day over the formulaic question answer thing.
Yeah, because it's more organic.
Absolutely.
And I think like you're still learning about the person. I think there's this misconception that the only way that I'm going to learn about him and he's going to learn about me is if we ask each other all these questions. Questions
like a job
are
interview.
Yeah, exactly. You don't, and we talk about all the time. You don't want it to feel like an interview, whether you're just talking to somebody on an app or whether you're on a date. You want it to feel just like a natural flow of conversation. And like when Bethany got here today for us to record, the first hour before we even hit record, we talked about all the stuff in our personal life. We may have asked 2 questions the whole time, but she learned a lot about what was going on with me and my life and my family and all these things. And I learned a lot about what's going on with her and her work and her stuff, and literally hardly had to ask any questions, but we're just talking. And I think that we've got to let go of the assumption that the only way he can learn about me or communicate interest in me is by asking me a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that I can communicate to him that I'm interested is by asking him questions. It's not true. Questions are for when the conversation starts to dwindle or die.
Yep. And it needs to take a new direction and find new life and whatever else. Yeah.
But if you're going back and forth and you're telling stories like, oh yeah, I did this one. Oh yeah. Oh, what about this?
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, me too. Blah, blah, blah. You know,
Yep.
You think about when you talk to people closest to you, you rarely ask questions. And obviously you're not going to feel as close to the person you just matched with on Bumble as you do your best friend. But that's what you want to get to. And so if you can get to that quicker where you're just actually conversing with them, conversating, didn't we?
Yes,
that was
a word.
It is a word. Then I don't think that's something to be concerned about or take as, oh, he's not interested in getting to know me.
Yeah.
Because I really don't think that's true.
Well, I don't either. And one thing, talking about like with your friends, I didn't have to ask you questions about what's going on in your life, and you didn't have to ask me when I got here. And we've talked about this amongst ourselves before because it's a given. Obviously, I want to know what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Like, duh.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you. You just know to tell me. And so we've talked, you and I have talked about that, I know, before in the past. And so that kind of got me thinking just in the vein of like the differences in how men and women communicate. And so I have actually asked guys before, like, when you're talking like that and they don't ask you, like, oh, you ask them a question, they answer, and then they don't say, oh, well, what about you? Or how did that work for you? Or whatever. I've asked before, I'm like, is that something that you're just assuming I'm going to tell you? And they're like, well, yeah. Like, in their mind, the question is understood. Mm-hmm. I asked them a question, they answered, and it's like, okay, like your turn. And so
Yeah.
it's more of a given thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took that. I was like, okay. So I've had a couple of conversations recently where it was kind of like stilted. It was kind of dying. And then I had this thought in my head of like, okay, I'm not going to just wait around for him to ask me, what about you, or whatever, because then we get annoyed when they do that too much too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I said, well, I'm going to operate in this conversation as if the return question is understood. And I did. And it completely turned the conversation around. It took it from that question, answer to just having a conversation. And so I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm not saying there aren't guys who are just bad at conversing, or they're really not that interested, or for whatever reason they're not doing well in this conversation. But I think sometimes if we would assume that that question is understood, we would be better off.
Yeah, that's a great point. So if you can just shift your mindset, I think that's going to be a game changer when you are talking to guys. And again, like, if the conversation is like strained, or like it's dying, or if he's giving you like 4-word answers, one, you can ask questions, but two, you got to figure out if you even still want to keep talking to the dude.
Yeah.
So, he could just ask you, what about you, 14 times, and technically he's asking you questions, but he's not really like making that much of an effort.
Yeah.
As opposed to a guy who may ask you 2 questions, but you've got these long messages going back and forth, and you've learned a ton about him in 2 days.
Yeah.
So, take that for what you will. But I think reframing our expectations around asking questions is going to be really helpful if we want to have quality conversations with guys online. So I think that's good advice. And I think that's where we can close it.
Wrap it up.
So I will go ahead and tell you, since we are less than a week out
next week
from season 7 premiering, we thought it would be fun. We've never done this before. We're going to give y'all 2 full-length episodes on premiere week.
It's a double premiere.
It's a double premiere. So we're going to have one come out on Wednesday, the 8th, and the other one come out on Friday, the 10th, instead of like a couch cast or whatever. But what they're going to be about is what's even more exciting, because we, for the past, at least 3 seasons?
Oh, at least
if not longer, y'all have heard that Bethany and I have both kind of developed our own mantras. So Bethany's is don't date in a bubble, and mine is you want to be with somebody who wants to be with you. Those are just like, if we got tattoos for this podcast, that's what they would say.
That would be it.
And so we need to get like signs or something for our offices. But
we realized we've never talked about it.
No, like we work those things into different episodes, but we've never just had an episode dedicated to each thing. So we thought, why not make that the premiere for season 7? So we're going to do an episode called Don't Date in a Bubble, and we're going to do an episode on You Want to Be with Somebody Who Wants to Be with You. So you're going to get both of those
next week
as we kick off season 7. It's going to be so great. I cannot wait for y'all to hear these. They're going to be so fun, so helpful, Lord willing, and just a grand old time as we kick off our 7th season. So be sure and come back and check those out next Wednesday and Friday. So it's going to be great. But wishing you all the love from the beach where we're at right now. We will talk to y'all soon. But until next time, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.